A high-speed chase through Baltimore ends in the arrest of 3 teens. Police say they had guns and drugs.
This is crazy. People just really are crazy out here.
Fox 45 News looks at what the city can do to reduce juvenile crime. The mayor announces a major revamp for safe streets. What spurred the change in leadership and the next steps for the city's embattled violence intervention program. Plus, as Baltimore approaches a grim murder milestone, Fox 45 News takes the pulse of the city on the unrelenting violence.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And I'm Riel Creighton. As Baltimore City nears 250 homicides this year, one of the organizations designed to limit violence is undergoing a complete overhaul.
Safe Streets will have a new look starting next month. The change coming after months of Fox 45 demanding answers about the group's effectiveness.
We've struggled to get information about how this program is run, the training, the staff. Will this change bring more transparency to this for the public?
Well, we have team coverage tonight of how city leaders and residents are addressing the ongoing violence.
We begin with Mackenzie Frost and a change in leadership coming to several Safe Streets locations.
The mayor is changing how the 10 different Safe Streets locations will be managed. Right now, it's a patchwork of nonprofits overseeing the implementation of the program. That change will start in about a month and will last up through January. But given the fact that we know there are questions about transparency, oversight, and really effectiveness about the Safe Streets program as a whole, I pressed Mayor Brandon Scott if the changes now announced are because those locations were mismanaged. For months, Fox 45 News has been trying to get to the bottom of the Safe Streets Baltimore program, going door to door to door, all 10 Safe Streets locations. Give a video of this. Looking for answers about who works there, when do they work, what about effectiveness, oversight, usually only to be met with silence. Now, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing a massive change in how the program is structured.
This program had literally been the same way since it was created.
Instead of a patchwork of nonprofits like Living Classrooms, Park Heights Renaissance, and Family Health Centers of Baltimore running the locations, oversight will be done by just 2 groups, LifeBridge and Catholic Charities, both who already manage some locations, but now will have more sites brought under their watch. Does that signal that the previous CBOs that were operating these locations were mismanaging the locations?
No, it's about evolving, Mackenzie. We had a big study done and looking at best practices and ways to improve. Many of those community partners, like Living Classrooms, like Bond Secures Community Work, we're still going to be working within other ways and reentry.
What that actually means, the mayor's office says, will have to wait. While announcing the change in structure, the mayor calls Safe Streets, quote, Baltimore's flagship violence intervention program. Yet the city's own internal report in April confirms what Fox 45 News had been reporting for months. The program lacks oversight, and data showing violence that was prevented is inconclusive program-wide. We've struggled to get information about how this program is run, the training, the staff. Will this change bring more transparency to this for the public?
We're very transparent about the program. We have reports published about the program. We're going to consistently be doing that. But what we will not do is risk the public safety of our workers or others.
But that simply isn't reality. We've been asking the city for information surrounding who are the employees at these locations. What about their supervisors? How is mediation defined? And what's the proof these employees are actually working? A public records request for emails among top staff about Safe Streets producing more redactions than answers. And when we tracked down Shantae Jackson, the director of the agency implementing Safe Streets, that's the mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, Jackson refused to stop and answer questions. Director Jackson, can I ask you a couple of questions? Instead, Mayor Scott doubling down on why he says some of the information may have to stay hidden from the public.
When you're talking about jumping in between people and guns and bullets and talking about calming down situations with folks who we know have been in the past certified killers, we have to be very cognizant of that. We are transparent about the program. We will not risk the integrity of the program for anything. Thank you.
The changes are set to take place October through January. Meanwhile, the program continues with the patchwork of little oversight
and a lot of questions.
I'm still trying to get more information about what these contracts will look like with LifeBridge and Catholic Charities. But in the meantime, we're still trying to get an interview set up with Monzi director Shantae Jackson. We've been asking for months to no avail, and if she's willing to sit down with me and talk about Safe Streets, how this program works and the implementation of it, we're more than happy to make that happen. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
As Mackenzie reported, she is also looking to find out how the two nonprofits were selected and the cost of the contracts. Fox 45 News has been digging into some of the federal money granted to Baltimore in the past involving Shantae Jackson, who oversees the administration of grants. Nearly $1 million was slated to be handed out in June to a pair of Baltimore-based organizations, including Project Numa. Damian Cooper runs that group, and the mayor's office confirmed to Fox 45 that he is a former romantic partner of Jackson. Sources tell Fox 45 a complaint was filed with the Office of the Inspector General regarding a possible conflict of interest. That complaint has not yet been resolved.
And the areas around Safe Streets locations have been hotbeds for violence over the past few months. In early May, a triple shooting along Bel Air Road in Northeast Baltimore happened just steps from a charity cookout put on by Safe Streets. The mayor and police said those events were not related. 5 days later, near the McElderly Park Safe Streets location, Baltimore police ran out of evidence markers after 60 rounds were fired in a mass shooting that left one person dead. It was one of two mass shootings that day alone. And August 24th, a drive-by shooting at a Park Heights intersection left one dead and 6 wounded. That shooting happening less than a block from the Safe Streets location there. In that case, the gunmen are still out there. In fact, video showed 2 men getting out of this car, firing into a group of people. Kenyon Smith was killed. You can call police or Metro Crime Stoppers if you have any information to help in solving that crime.
While restructuring Safe Streets, the mayor's office touted their efforts to work with hospitals that treat victims, saying training with hospital staff is coming later this year, hoping to prevent further conflict and retaliation before a patient leaves. Well, it is not the first time that hospitals have been a major part of violence prevention. Earlier this month, the University of Maryland, Baltimore launched a Center for Violence Prevention in partnership with shock trauma, local law schools, and the School of Social Work, rather. But one activist says that's a risky proposition, while shock trauma surgeons are overwhelmed, but saving lives.
People get up, get out, get involved. You know, stop waiting for somebody to come in and fix the problem. Now, the problem with that is we elected him to fix the problems.
We're really pretty good at taking care of sick patients. But when they get to the point where they either have a lethal anatomic injury or they come in with their heart no longer beating, we're out of the game. There's nothing we can do to fix that problem. The only fix for that problem is to not have it happen.
The Center for Violence Prevention received a $2 million grant designed to develop education and policies to limit the bloodshed. Those changes to violence prevention strategies come as Baltimore is just one murder shy of 250 on the year. The latest killing coming this morning in East Baltimore near William Court. Well, some residents just don't feel safe as all signs point to another year of more than 300 murders. Fox 45's Keith Daniels shares their frustration tonight. Keith.
Well, Riel, the city has seen 5 shootings since yesterday, including a homicide today and tonight, taking the quick pulse of the people as the city approaches another grim milestone. Now, it's been a violent year in Baltimore. So far, 249 people have been killed in the city and 530 people shot but have survived. Both those numbers higher than last year. At this time in 2021, 241 people have been killed and 497 people survived shootings. Tonight, residents and their response to the violent crime that's happening across the city.
I think leadership could be better. You know what I mean?
What are you expecting from them?
I'm expecting them to be tougher on crime, for real. You know? Stop letting people get away with these small crimes because they turn into bigger crimes sometimes.
For city leadership, I'm not sure because I don't understand what they can do.
it's us as a people. We have to stop hurting each other. We have to stop attacking each other. The kids growing up, the parents have to get more involved. So that's nothing about city leaders.
I think Baltimore is a beautiful city with a lot of wonderful people that have a lot of talent, but unfortunately I feel like a lot of folks are walking around with pain. You know, I think it's a culmination of a lot of years of a lack of resources and a lack of, help, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And unfortunately, I think it culminates in the worst way.
That man not giving his name, but like the others, he is speaking out. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, a high-speed chase topping 100 miles per hour from the city into Baltimore County. Police say they recovered loaded guns. Tonight, we're learning more about the 3 young juveniles in custody. Plus, the mayor doubles down that DPW went by the book during the E. coli breakout, despite the agency's leader apologizing during a hearing. His response after we asked if he wants to clarify.
The last weekend of summer continues with warm temperatures tomorrow, but it gets hotter as we finish the weekend. I'll let you know what to expect coming up.
And after Poe's season-ending injury, a pair of Ravens legends coming out of retirement, the poetic ending to this story. Breaking now, the Justice Department is appealing an order that blocks it from reviewing documents marked classified that were seized from former President Donald Trump's Mar-A-Lago offices and estate. The DOJ request to resume going through the documents was made in the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in Atlanta. The only higher court is the U.S. Supreme Court. As it stands now, a former federal judge from Brooklyn has until November 23rd to review the documents before the FBI can take back over.
Well, new details in that case made famous by the serial podcast. Adnan Syed will have his day in court Monday. His potential release will be the subject of a hearing. Attorneys for Syed, who was found guilty of killing high school girlfriend Heyman Lee more than 20 years ago, confirmed the hearing Monday will take place at 2 p.m. The city state's attorney's office wants the conviction with life sentence tossed in a new trial, even saying Syed should be freed. Syed has never wavered in maintaining his innocence. We will monitor that hearing for you on Monday.
A high-speed car chase topping 100 miles per hour ends in Baltimore County.
3 juveniles who bailed were eventually captured, police claiming to have found loaded guns and what appear to be drugs.
Fox 45 Jeff Abel has been reporting on juvenile crime. And Jeff, this was a very dangerous situation.
Very much so. In fact, police pursued this vehicle down multiple roadways through the city and the county. And tonight, 2 15-year-olds are among the accused. The pursuit, which began in Baltimore City, ended in a crash here in Baltimore County.
This is crazy. People just really are crazy out here. They don't care.
Police say the suspect's vehicle was wanted in connection with an armed robbery and pursued the vehicle for 16 miles until it crashed into another vehicle here on I-83 near the Baltimore Beltway. Inside the vehicle were 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old, along with this: 3 loaded handguns and a stash of what police believe is marijuana.
We see a homicide today rated in Baltimore City. We see carjackings after carjacking. We have seen kids who was 12 years old 10 years ago who are now 22 committing big boy crimes and killing people and putting bullets in everybody.
It's the latest in a string of cases involving Maryland's youngest residents accused of committing Maryland's most violent crimes. Experts say teens are escaping accountability.
Clearly, the focus in the leadership of the city and really in the leadership of the state and the General Assembly has been sort of some of the softer approaches that are consistent with, again, juvenile delinquency, not with, hardcore violent crime.
This summer, Maryland lawmakers passed a series of juvenile justice reform laws which allows the state's youngest suspects to avoid prison.
It is time for Maryland's juvenile justice system to focus more on care, not cages.
You eliminate cages, but you don't create service opportunities to place our children in so that they can heal.
The 3 teens arrested in today's pursuit were sent to juvenile jail after a chase that produced both panic and pain. Well, a county police officer was injured during today's pursuit, but his injuries are not believed to be serious. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Different parts of the state are taking different approaches to juvenile crime. In Prince George's County, this is the second weekend where police are enforcing the curfew. Anyone under 18 has to be home by midnight on the weekends and 10 p.m. on weekdays if they're not accompanied by an adult. First violations to get a reminder to go home. The second time caught out late, you will have to wait with police for a guardian to pick you up. And parents are also being held accountable, too. They will face fines escalating from $50 to $250 based on repeated rule breaking.
Well, summertime fading away. The official start of autumn is coming up in 6 days.
Oh, that's hard to believe. It's this close.
It's so exciting.
I know, you love it. But I get nervous with that little bit of nip in the air that we're feeling now at night.
Oh, yeah, it has been a little cool at night. I've definitely...
I like it.
I like it, too. I've grabbed the jackets. I get in the car. Oh, I put the heater on. It's a little cool for me.
Yeah.
But, we've got warmer trend coming up. So if you are not ready to say goodbye to summer yet, you've got a great weekend to enjoy. This is the last weekend of summer, and it will feel like it, especially as we head into Sunday. 65 for the current temperatures, so it is starting to get a little cool over Towson. Winds at this time are calm with clear skies. Across the state, we're seeing temperatures mainly in the 60s. Not too bad across the entire state. It's clear, but we are looking at that warm up as we head into the weekend. Low 80s tomorrow, upper 80s on Sunday, and then look at that. By Monday, we're talking highs in the 90s, and that's the start of a warming trend. I'll let you know just how long the hot temperatures stick around and when we'll get that fall feel coming up in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
A hallmark event in horse racing in Baltimore County is just around the corner, but the race is about so much more than the horses. It showcases more than 100 acres of protected land. Just 17 miles from Baltimore City.
The Maryland countryside is enormously beautiful.
Along Shawan Road in Cockeysville sits just under 250 acres of sprawling peace and quiet.
Approximately 25 years ago, this piece was going to come up for sale. And there was already a very strong habit or initiative to conserve land in this area. And a few people got together and decided that they would try to save this.
And so they did. This serene spot is now part of the Land Preservation Trust, a nonprofit formed in the 80s to hold conservation easements.
We wanted to conserve land for the next generation.
The trust president, Victoria Collins, says today the trust has 355 easements throughout northwest Baltimore County.
We have 22,000 connected acres, and that's very important in open space preservation because it allows for protection of forests, fields, and streams.
Shawan Downs.
We think of it as the gateway.
Is a defining piece of property that not only preserves the land's agriculture, but is also home to a first-class equestrian center.
It was a farm, and it still is a farm in many ways. We have roughly 117 acres, which we hay. A local farmer does that for us. The other activity that takes place is equine events. We can have up to 8 equine events a year.
The Legacy Chase is the hallmark event, a day full of steeplechase races.
Really, you have some of the most prestigious horses and horsemen in steeplechase racing all here that day. It's also a great community day. It's open to everyone.
The fundraiser has been drawing people to the area since the late 90s and benefits the Land Preservation Trust.
It's important to me so that not just myself, but future generations can enjoy the great outdoors.
And thanks to the trust, this space and so many others throughout the county will be protected forever. Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Well, Saturday, September 24th, the gates open at 10 a.m. there at Shawan Downs. You can find all the information on how to purchase tickets on our website at foxbaltimore.com.
Still ahead, stronger restrictions if your kids want to attend a high school sporting event in Anne Arundel County. What's causing the new rules?
Plus, the search is over. See the moment General Manager Eric DaCosta extended a formal offer to the Ravens' new mascots.
right, let's go live to M&T Bank Stadium, where the Ravens will play their home opener in less than 48 hours. The stadium will be full of fans, players, and the media, but there is still a missing piece.
Yeah, the Ravens have been without an official mascot since Poe went down with a preseason injury, but the team now has his replacements. Check it out.
And we've determined that you two guys are really the two best guys for this position. Do we have a deal? Awesome. That's great. That's great. Well, here's what we got to do. We got to look at the contract, okay? I want you guys to read the language. I've got yours right here, Edgar. Alan, I've got yours right here. Just read the first page. Read it first. Make sure everything looks good. When it looks good, let me know. You look good? Awesome. All right. Big day for you guys and your families. Congratulations.
So cute. Well, Edgar and Alan will be back on the Ravens sideline for the first time in almost 2 decades, and Twitter, they are all about it. This fan who goes by Touchdown Lamar is pumped, saying they're back. It's supposed to be a one-year thing, but here's a suggestion. One fan says keep them on the roster. 3 mascots equal triple the spirit. I like that idea. And Brandon is asking the important question about payment: was the bird seed guaranteed? And an interesting thought here. One fan suggests the Ravens don't know what they signed up for since they can't read their contracts. Well, maybe the union has to get involved. I don't know. That's a good one. Well, a girls' school director facing some heavy backlash for her comments on diversity, why she feels minority students should have time away from their classmates.
Mortgage rates more than double what they were at the start of the year. I'm Kayla Gaskins with what that means for the red-hot housing market.
We're continuing to follow 3 big stories. A trio of teenagers arrested and found in possession of loaded guns after a high-speed chase across Baltimore City
and Baltimore County.
Mayor Brandon Scott is announcing a major overhaul of Safe Streets. The nonprofit groups overseeing 6 locations are changing as the mayor looks to expand anti-violence efforts to hospitals and schools.
And city council members continue to press DPW this week over why the E. coli crisis in West Baltimore wasn't addressed sooner.
The Department of Public Works says the contaminated water was first discovered on Friday, September 2nd, but it took until the following Monday to notify the public.
The most critical time in a crisis is those first 24 hours. And frankly, I'm disgusted on how those first 24 hours was handled.
It doesn't take long, as you can imagine, but I think to your point, and to my opening remarks and my closing remarks, there was a lot of lessons learned, right? And communication was a huge lesson.
DPW admits that mistakes were made in getting the word out to the public in West Baltimore, but Mayor Scott doesn't see it that way right now.
You told me that you didn't think the communication was bungled in terms of how this was talked about in the community. During the hearing yesterday, we heard DPW Director Jason Mitchell say that there were mistakes made, and he recognizes that. Why does it seem to be a difference between he's willing to take responsibility for what happened?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. And what I said last week, Mackenzie, is that we met every single requirement. And what we're talking about now is exceeding those requirements and being better. There's always room for improvement. Nobody's perfect. Tom Brady loses football games, right? No one's perfect. You can always be better than you were before, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, Mayor Scott did say that his office will handle communications in a situation like this moving forward. The city is still trying to figure out what caused the initial E. coli contamination.
D.C. sniper Lee Malvo will not be eligible for parole. The Virginia Parole Board rejecting that request, ruling that Malvo is still a risk to the community. He was convicted for his role in shooting and killing 10 people in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland in 2002 when he was a teenager. Malvo is serving his sentence at the Supermax Red Onion State Prison in Virginia. Even if he did get parole, he still has a life sentence here in Maryland.
A Carroll County school bus driver is being accused of driving under the influence after crashing a school bus. Just after 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, 54-year-old Tammy Frock drove that bus off the road, hitting some telephone poles in Eldersburg. No kids were on the bus at the time of the crash. State police say DUI charges are pending after the results of a blood alcohol test come back. It is Friday night, which means high school sports are in full swing. But after a string of disruptive behavior, Anne Arundel County is putting in some new restrictions for kids attending a game. Any elementary and middle school student must be with an adult. Any violent behavior could result in a 90-day suspension from school. And students who take part may be banned from participating in other sports. Well, last week, Chesapeake High School in Anne Arundel County received backlash for changing their Red, White, and Blue Spirit Week theme. That decision came after reports of possible fights over the theme the year before.
There wasn't any fights last year.
It's supposed to be Patriotic Day. They said it's too divisive.
In a letter to parents, the principal wrote in part, quote, moving away from the red, white, and blue theme was simply an effort to avoid the issues we faced as a community last year. It was in no way an attempt to take any side of any argument or align with any philosophy.
An all-girls Catholic school in Baltimore is facing backlash for some comments made by its director of diversity and inclusion. Kalia Sermon of Maryvale Prep School spoke about the importance of giving students of color space away from what she calls white gaze. She went on to say it's fine to provide preferential treatment to students of color since, quote, the white children, she says, are fine. Members of a conservative parent organization voiced concern.
The negative impacts of any sort of racial division is astounding. It's wrong and it's detrimental to students' well-being to teach that they're either oppressors or oppressed just based on their skin color.
Maryvale President Tracy Ford has reportedly emailed families to say she is assuming direct oversight of the school's justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts. Listening sessions will also be hosted to receive feedback. Let's take a look at some of today's big headlines. Queen Elizabeth continues to lie in state in London. Some people reported waiting in line nearly 24 hours to pay their respects. Top right, President Biden met with the family of WNBA star Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan. The two Americans are still in prison after unsuccessful efforts from the White House to secure their release.
Today, Uber says it's all systems go after acknowledging it suffered a major data breach. The company admits a hacker tricked an employee into providing credentials. So far, there's no evidence specific user data has been leaked. And stocks take another dip to close out a rough week on Wall Street. It is the fourth losing week in the past 5, including one of the worst days in more than 2 years. Today's dive fueled in part by the CEO of FedEx predicting a global recession.
We just assume at this point that the economic conditions are not going to be good, but it basically allows us then to fully, go into cost management mode.
Meanwhile, rising interest rates mean mortgage rates have nearly doubled since the start of the year. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains its impact on the housing market.
Mortgage rates are now over 6%, and that is enough to significantly cool off the red-hot housing market that we've seen the past few years. Mortgage rates surpassing the 6% mark for the first time since 2008, double the 3% rates we saw this January and much of last year, slowing down the housing market. Lawrence Yoon, chief economist for the National Realtors Association, says this means total monthly mortgage payments are now 50% more what they were for the same home bought a year ago, pricing many would-be buyers out of the market. Less competition means the days of regularly seeing offers of 10, 20, even 50,000 over asking price are long gone.
So it is very important for the sellers to recognize that the market has changed. It is no longer the days of easy sale, easy profit. Now it's time for price negotiation.
In July, home sales fell for the 6th month in a row, which has economic drawbacks.
Housing market is undergoing what I would say is a housing recession, but this is for people in the industry. The mortgage lending industry, they're laying off people. Home builders are seeing fewer activity, fewer home sales.
Some social media users quick to point out 6% falls far below what people paid in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's also below the 50-year average of around 8%.
Recent years, when we have experienced 3% and now rates rising so much, first is somewhat shocking.
Yoon hopes 6% will represent the cyclical high. But as the Federal Reserve prepares for yet another rate hike, mortgage rates will likely remain volatile for the foreseeable future. Economist Lauren Yoon also pointing out the benefit of the American mortgage system is our ability to refinance. So even if rates continue to climb for now, in the future, hopefully home buyers can reset if rates drop again, something many did over the past 2 years. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
Fleet Week may be over, but the lessons will last a lifetime for both sailors and visitors.
In tonight's Maryland Moment, Megan Gilland and photojournalist Kenny Christopher take a look back at a memorable week in Baltimore.
Flying 300 to 400 feet above.
Eagle over deck.
A Seahawk MH-60 Sierra approaches landing.
I'm just grateful to be out here.
Seaman Braden Abbott joined the Navy 2 years ago. It is his first time on a military helicopter.
Seeing what it's going to be like for the rest of my naval career.
The target, a Navy warship flight deck on the USS Carter Hall.
We are an amphibious ship, about 610 feet long.
And currently moving down the Chesapeake Bay.
This is historic waters. These Maryland waters have bore witness to different battles that we fought early in our history.
On deck, roughly 400 sailors and Marines.
I'm a gunner's mate, so I'm in charge of the armory, any ordnance evolutions, any gun shoots, from anything from the 25 millimeter down, that's me.
An electronics shop, LPO. I run the electronics shop, so all the exterior communications, interior communications, the radar, and the navigation equipment, we take charge of that.
Yes, our job is to move Marines from ships to shore to take over beaches.
But today...
All right, this is the tricky part. Watch this going down.
There's a different mission. Moving at 11 to 12 knots, the USS Carter Hall is sailing into Baltimore for Fleet Week, giving locals a chance to meet these brave men and women.
Again, the fighting spirit that lived in those sailors of yesterday live in the sailors and Marines that are embarked on this ship today.
To understand their commitment,
they eagerly stood forward and said, I will defend the greater promise of America.
and to simply get a chance to say hello.
This is everything for me because I've never been able to really show all of my family and friends what I do.
For retail specialist Senior Chief Petty Officer Jamie Francis and Senior Chief Culinary Specialist Stacy Washington, putting feet on the ground here is a homecoming.
Honestly, it's just like a dream come true. To be from Baltimore and to come back here, it's definitely a one-in-a-lifetime experience.
Thanks for everyone for coming out today.
I'm Megan Gilland, Fox 45 News.
Very nice. New technology designed to save lives on the road could have a deadly flaw. Why automatic brakes have the tendency to fail when drivers need them the most.
A warning from FedEx about a global recession. I'm Atral Nashar with what the CEO says is a sign of a major slowdown.
And we're just days away from the Ravens home opener, and here's a look over M&T Bank Stadium where it is calm and cool, but we'll heat up by Sunday. I'll let you know just how hot it gets and what to expect for tailgating coming up in my full forecast.
Pedestrian deaths are surging across America. Nearly 7,500 people struck and killed by cars last year alone. To reverse the trend, car companies are coming out with automatic emergency braking systems, which can detect pedestrians and apply the brakes. But the system might not work as well at night. Spotlight on America's Lisa Fletcher gets an inside look at the testing process that's now underway.
It happens in an instant. A car slams into an unseen pedestrian in the dark of night. Oh! Here at the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's testing lab in Southern Virginia, the scenario and the pedestrian are fake, but the implications are real. The automatic emergency braking systems, or AEBs, that are designed to protect you by taking control of the vehicle and stopping it before a collision, don't always work, and as we discovered, are especially ineffective at night when drivers may rely on them most to avoid a pedestrian or animal in the road.
It doesn't get any easier to watch, even though you know it's a dummy.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's tough when you're in the vehicle.
David Ayler is the Institute's Vice President of Active Safety Testing, and he's designed these crash scenarios to try to better understand how these braking systems are working at night.
The dummy is set, ready for your run.
Spotlight on America was invited to watch as professional drivers drove straight at the dummy at designated speeds to see if the brakes would spring into action, unprompted by the driver. We watched two trucks, same manufacturer, both model year 2022, fare very differently in the tests. At its worst, plowing into the dummy and dragging it under the vehicle. At best, stopping just before impact. The difference in performance from vehicle to vehicle leaves consumers in the dark about whether these systems will actually do their job when they're needed most.
We want to make sure.
Jessica Cicchino is the IIHS Vice President of Research.
Should automakers be more upfront with consumers about these automatic braking devices? They work great during the day, don't work so well at night.
We would like to see automakers improve their performance at night so that they will be working well all of the time, and so consumers won't have to worry about that.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety launched a study that found that AEB systems reduced the odds of a pedestrian crash by 32% during daylight. But in unlighted areas, the study found that systems make no difference at all in the odds of a nighttime pedestrian crash for vehicles with and without the crash avoidance technology.
Pedestrian deaths have been rising really alarmingly over the last decade, and we've seen that some of the biggest increases have been in the dark, where we see that more than 3/4 of pedestrian fatalities occur in the dark. So it is really important, if we want to have these systems help prevent fatalities, for them to work in these situations where we see the most deaths occurring.
Scattered across America are reminders of what's at stake, like here in Silver Spring, Maryland, where Rachel Grossman has endured two tragedies on streets near her home.
In 2016, my dad was hit crossing Georgia Avenue, and then about a year ago, my mother was hit about 2 blocks away from him. They both died.
She believes that if AEBs are advertised as a safety feature, they have to work. And she'd like to see federal standards put in place to guarantee it.
More regulation on the production of it and the manufacturing, I would say. Kind of like how all cars have to have airbags, you know?
We're told that 2025 would be the earliest that such a requirement could exist, leaving consumers, for now, dangerously in the dark. For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
All right, well, we're heading into the last weekend of summer. We have the Ravens season opener at M&T Bank Stadium on Sunday, so hopefully some really good weather.
Oh yeah, it'll be great. You know, people are going to miss these warm temperatures, but Sunday looks great. So if you like the heat, if you like a little bit of humidity, the forecast looks great for that and really great for tailgating. Here's a look over M&T Bank Stadium, and right now it's cool and quiet. 65 with calm winds and clear skies, but things will certainly heat up as we head into the weekend and especially on Sunday. Across the state, we're seeing clear skies and temperatures mainly in the 60s. These numbers will continue to fall overnight. We're looking at lows again in the 50s and the low 60s. So it won't be as cool as it was this morning, but still you may want a light jacket. Then as we head into the afternoon, our temperatures go from the 60s to the 70s, eventually to the low 80s. And we're talking a couple of degrees above average for this time of year, but humidity still stays somewhat low, and that's going to keep it feeling comfortable. The rest of the weekend, though, we really do heat up as highs approach the upper 80s. Then next week, we're actually looking at temperatures approaching the 90s, so a very hot end to summer and start of fall. However, throughout this time, we're still looking at that dry stretch continuing. It's been dry over the past few days, and we expect that trend as we head into next week. will stay quiet and clear overnight as those temperatures fall to the 50s and 60s. We'll wake up to plenty of sunshine, so great for running or doing any yard work. Then by the afternoon, great for spending some time outdoors as those highs reach the low 80s. Then making our way into Sunday, we're still starting off with lots of sunshine. Temperatures gradually rise to the upper 80s as we head into the afternoon. So again, great for tailgating in the morning, and then the afternoon, it looks great for football. We'll stay nice and sunny before a few more clouds move in during the second half of the day and as we head into Monday night. We're also keeping watch on Tropical Storm Fiona. That system is expected to move over parts of the Lesser Antilles, impacting Puerto Rico and parts of Hispaniola before making a northward turn. But the good news is that the cone of uncertainty continues to trend away from the United States. But it's still too early to say where that system will go after Wednesday. We're keeping watch on two other areas in the Atlantic Basin. Both of these have a low chance of formation and will not be a threat to the U.S. 62 for the low temperature tonight. Then as we move forward, 83 tomorrow, 87 on Sunday. Then we're looking at highs in the 90 on Monday. After that, we stay warm until Friday. Back to you.
Ahead on the late edition of Carroll County school bus drivers accused of driving under the influence after crashing a school bus. It's a battle of the birds as two AL East foes go head-to-head in Toronto. How the O's fared in Game 1 of this crucial three-game series just ahead on Sports Unlimited.
So a grueling final stretch began tonight for the O's. 20 games in 20 days as the temperature rises in the team's postseason push. Game 1 of a crucial three-game series with Toronto. O's in a hole early on, one on for Adley Rutschman. And he takes that ball for a ride. The two-run shot, his 11th of the year, makes it a 2-1 game in the fourth. Bottom 5, 2 on for George Springer. And that's a no-doubter. Blue Jays take a 4-2 lead. And behind the long ball, Toronto takes the first of 3, 6-3, the final score. So you're telling me there's a chance? J.K. Dobbins has officially been listed as questionable ahead of Sunday's home opener against the Dolphins. The Ravens running back has been a full participant at practice for 3 straight days and is trending upwards as far as his status goes for week 2. This time last week, Dobbins was also questionable. From what we've had the chance to see during the media viewing portion of practice, Dobbins has been moving really well. The 23-year-old running back who missed all of 2021 with a torn ACL was asked if he fully expects to play this Sunday. Here's what he had to say.
Well, if it's totally, we'll see. We'll see. That's the answer I gotta give you. But I don't know. Truly don't know. I hope I am. Maybe I am. Maybe not. We'll see.
Listen, that's an honest answer, and I think everyone respects that. Coming up tonight, a look at the wild card standings and where the O's currently stand. Plus, an update on Ronnie Stanley ahead of the Ravens home opener. Ahead on Sports Unlimited.
Thank you, Rocco. 3 teenagers lead Baltimore police on a high-speed chase that ends in the county. What police found after arresting them and just how young the suspects are. But first, we're counting down the Ravens home opener this weekend. What you need to know from stadium policy to transportation. Back now with a live look at M&T Bank Stadium. Can you believe it? We are just 2 days away from the Ravens opener. Parking lots open 4.5 hours before kickoff, so that's 8:30 a.m. this weekend. Remember, the Light Rail Sunday service doesn't start until about 10 a.m. or later, depending on where you are. When you get to the stadium, bags are mostly prohibited. They must be clear and no bigger than 12 by 6 by 12 inches. And finally, one pandemic-era holdover. This entire stadium is cashless. Credit, debit, and Apple or Google Pay are the only options. You're going to want to remember that. And we love to see your Purple Pride. Keep sending your pictures. Selena was at a game not long ago and got a picture with Captain Defense. Always a good time at the stadium when you get a chance to go. And Claude took her Purple Pride to work today. It looks like her coworkers did as well. After all, there's no better way to dress on Purple Fridays here in Baltimore. And we, of course, like to see your babies and your pets in purple. Look at that baby, so cute. Robin shared this picture of Daddy and James. Let's hope for a win this weekend. A big shout out to Robin, Claude, and Selena for sharing pictures with Fox 45 today. You can do the same by going to foxbaltimore.com and tapping Chime In. We'll share your Purple Pride pictures right here on TV and on our website.
Just days after prosecutors move for a new trial in the murder conviction of Adnan Syed, a date has been set next week to discuss his potential release.
The fact that this is blood up here is a little more than I care to think about.
3 teenagers lead police on a high-speed chase from Baltimore City into Baltimore County. A look at crime fueled by young people.
A warning from FedEx about a global recession. I'm Atrel Nashar with what the CEO says is a sign of a major slowdown.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
Good evening, I'm Rielle Creighton in for Kai Jackson. The Late Edition begins right now with the exclusive Fox Track, your Baltimore Minute.
A more than 15-mile high-speed chase crossing into Baltimore County from the city and ending here on I-83 just north of the I-695 exchange.
This is crazy. People just really are crazy out here. They don't care.
Live footage of the pursuit also captured the suspect's car hitting another vehicle and individuals tossing items out of the window as they fled from officers.
Fox 45 News has been trying to get to the bottom of the Safe Streets Baltimore program, going door to door to door, all 10 Safe Streets locations.
Get a video of this.
Looking for answers about who works there, when do they work, what about effectiveness, oversight, usually only to be met with silence.
It's a shift sweeping Maryland's school systems.
Really, 21 of our 34 elementary schools experienced increases.
After decades of decline, Baltimore Catholic School Superintendent Donna Hargan says post-pandemic, they're suddenly seeing an 8% spike in student enrollment.
So that is a big accomplishment.
In fact, private schools across the state are now booming.
We are following 2 big stories tonight in a city in crisis. 3 teenagers lead Baltimore police on a dangerous high-speed chase. That chase coming to an end in Baltimore County as the suspects attempt to flee police. And tonight, Baltimore is a murder shy of seeing 250 lives taken this year. As crime experts warn, our city could see the deadliest year ever. Mayor Scott is making changes to his crime fight.
We've struggled to get information about how this program is run, the training, the staff. Will this change bring more transparency to this for the public?
Coverage tonight of a city in crisis. Let's begin with Jeff Abel and this afternoon's high-speed chase. Jeff.
Well, police pursued this vehicle down multiple roadways through both the city and the county. And when it was over, 2 15-year-olds were among the accused. The pursuit, which began in Baltimore City, ended in a crash here in Baltimore County.
This is crazy. People just really are crazy out here. They don't care.
Police say the suspect's vehicle was wanted in connection with an armed robbery and pursued the vehicle for 16 miles until it crashed into another vehicle here on I-83 near the Baltimore Beltway. Inside the vehicle were 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old, along with this: 3 loaded handguns and a stash of what police believe is marijuana.
We see a homicide a day rated in Baltimore City. We see carjackings after carjacking. We've seen kids who was 12 years old 10 years ago who are now 22 committing big boy crimes and killing people and putting bullets in everybody.
It's the latest in a string of cases involving Maryland's youngest residents accused of committing Maryland's most violent crimes. Experts say teens are escaping accountability.
Clearly, the focus in the leadership of the city and really in the leadership of the state in the General Assembly has been sort of some of the softer approaches that are consistent with, again, juvenile delinquency, not with, hardcore violent crime.
This summer, Maryland lawmakers passed a series of juvenile justice reform laws which allows the state's youngest suspects to avoid prison.
It is time for Maryland's juvenile justice system to focus more on care, not cages.
You eliminate cages, but you don't create service opportunities to place our children in so that they can heal.
The 3 teens arrested in today's pursuit were sent to juvenile jail after a chase that produced both panic and pain. A county police officer was injured during today's pursuit, but his injuries are not believed to be serious. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Mayor Scott, meantime, is announcing major changes coming to Baltimore's Community Violence Intervention Program, also known as Safe Streets. It's a program funded by taxpayers, yet the results data shows could be questionable. Mackenzie Frost has the full details.
The mayor is changing how the 10 different Safe Streets locations will be managed. Right now, it's a patchwork of nonprofits overseeing the implementation of the program. That change will start in about a month and will last up through January. But given the fact that we know there are questions about transparency, oversight, and really effectiveness about the Safe Streets program as a whole, I pressed Mayor Brandon Scott if the changes now announced are because those locations were mismanaged.
For months, Fox 45 News has been trying to get to the bottom of the Safe Streets Baltimore program, going door to door to door, all 10 Safe Streets locations.
Good video of this.
Looking for answers about who works there, when do they work, what about effectiveness, oversight, usually only to be met with silence. Now, Mayor Brandon Scott announcing a massive change in how the program is structured.
This program had literally been the same way since it was created.
Instead of a patchwork of nonprofits like Living Classrooms, Park Heights Renaissance, and Family Health Centers of Baltimore running the locations, oversight will be done by just two groups, LifeBridge and Catholic Charities, both who already manage some locations, but now will have more sites brought under their watch.
Does that signal that the previous CBOs that were operating these locations were mismanaging the locations?
No, it's about evolving, Mackenzie. We had a big study done and looking at best practices and ways to improve. Many of those community partners, like Living Classrooms, like Bond Secures Community Work, we're still going to be working within other ways and reentry.
What that actually means, the mayor's office says we'll have to wait. While announcing the change in structure, the mayor calls Safe Streets, quote, Baltimore's flagship violence intervention program. Yet the city's own internal report in April confirms what Fox 45 News had been reporting for months. The program lacks oversight, and data showing violence that was prevented is inconclusive program-wide.
We've struggled to get information about how this program is run, the training, the staff. Will this change bring more transparency to this for the public?
We're very transparent about the program. We have reports published about the program. We're going to consistently be doing that. But what we will not do is risk the public safety of our workers or others.
But that simply isn't reality. We've been asking the city for information surrounding who are the employees at these locations. What about their supervisors? How is mediation defined? And what's the proof these employees are actually working? A public records request for emails among top staff about Safe Streets producing more redactions than answers. And when we tracked down Shantae Jackson, the director of the agency implementing Safe Streets, that's the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, Jackson refused to stop and answer questions.
Director Jackson, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Instead, Mayor Scott doubling down on why he says some of the information may have to stay hidden from the public.
When you're talking about jumping in between people and guns and bullets and talking about calming down situations with folks who we know have been in the past certified killers, we have to be very cognizant of that. We are transparent about the program. We will not risk the integrity of the program for anything. Thank you.
The changes are set to take place October through January. Meanwhile, the program continues with the patchwork of little oversight and a lot of questions.
I'm still trying to get more information about what these contracts will look like with LifeBridge and Catholic Charities. But in the meantime, we're still trying to get an interview set up with Monzi director Shantae Jackson. We've been asking for months to no avail, and if she's willing to sit down with me and talk about Safe Streets, how this program works and the implementation of it, we're more than happy to make that happen. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the Safe Streets overhaul will make the program more effective? So far, 99% of those who have voted say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Adnan Syed could be released from behind bars as soon as next week, the major court hearing that could set him free. Plus, fears of a looming recession spooks Wall Street today. The major tumble and what experts have to say on whether we are headed for a recession or not.
And it will be another cool night as temperatures fall to the upper 50s and low 60s, but we stay nice and quiet. Then tomorrow, things start to heat up. I'll let you know just how warm it gets coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, Adnan Syed will have his day in court on Monday. His potential release will be the subject of a hearing. Attorneys for Syed, who was found guilty of killing high school girlfriend Hayman Lee more than 20 years ago, confirmed the hearing Monday will take place at 2 p.m. The city state's attorney's office wants that conviction tossed and a new trial, even saying Syed, who is serving a life sentence, should be freed. Number two, a Carroll County school bus driver was accused of driving under the influence after crashing a school bus. Just after 2 yesterday afternoon, 54-year-old Tammy Frock drove that bus off the road, hitting some telephone poles in Eldersburg. No kids were on that bus. State police say DUI charges are pending, awaiting more test results. Number three, convicted D.C. sniper Lee Boyd Malvo won't get parole. The Virginia Parole Board rejected the request, saying that Malvo is still a risk to the community. He was convicted for his role in the shooting and killing of 10 people in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland in 2002 when he was a teen. Malvo is serving his sentence in Virginia. Even if he did get parole, he still has a life sentence here in Maryland. Number four, on the national front, George Floyd will not get a posthumous pardon for a drug conviction. Last year, the Texas Board of Pardons voted unanimously for Floyd's full pardon, but before the governor could make a final decision, the board reversed the course with no explanation. The pardon would have been for a 2004 drug arrest in Houston. The officer who arrested Floyd has since been indicted himself and is off the force. Floyd's family can apply for a pardon again in 2 years. And number five, the Justice Department is appealing an order that blocks it from reviewing documents marked classified that were seized from former President Trump's Mar-A-Lago estate and offices. The DOJ request to resume going through the documents was made in the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in Atlanta. The only higher court is the U.S. Supreme Court. As it stands now, a former federal judge from Brooklyn has until November 23rd to review the documents before the FBI can take that case back over. Are we headed for a recession? The latest signs and what experts continue to say. Plus, why a private Catholic school in Baltimore is under fire for comments made by its director of diversity and inclusion on race. Stocks taking a tumble today after FedEx warns of a global recession. The Dow closed down 140 points, the S&P 500 falling by 28 points, and the Nasdaq also down by 103 points. All three major indexes logging their fourth losing week in the last 5. Those losses come as inflation proves to be harder to tame than many once thought. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the warning from the CEO of FedEx that is rattling nerves.
The question every economist is trying to answer, will there or won't there be a recession? Moves this week by FedEx could be a canary in a coal mine, cutting revenue expectations by $500 million.
We just assume at this point that the economic conditions are not going to be good, but it basically allows us then to fully, go into cost management mode.
Reducing flights and closing dozens of locations among those cost management measures. Inflation data out this week shows prices are not falling at the rate many experts predicted, and consumers are highly uncertain about where costs are headed, according to the University of Michigan's latest sentiment survey. Heading into fall and winter, many trying to gauge how much of their budget will go to necessities like power bills.
I'm looking at 20-30% increases already.
And food, prices up more than 13% from a year ago.
Spending, $250 a week on groceries definitely adds up.
Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers predicts that core inflation, which excludes volatile items like energy and food, will ease but stay at uncomfortably high levels.
Whether it's reducing some tariffs so we can get crucial inputs for our production from abroad at lower cost, all of us have to be doing whatever we can to minimize inflation.
Frustration about inflation expected to influence voters in the November midterms. But a new New York Times Siena poll finds it may not impact results like some would think. 52% say when it comes to the economy, they agree more with Republicans compared to 38% who agree with Democrats. But more say they still support their local Democratic candidate for Congress than the Republican, suggesting voters are weighing the importance of other hot-button issues like abortion, gun policy, or health care with the burden of high prices. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nashar reporting.
It's been a gorgeous Friday and really a great start to the last weekend of summer. We've had nice and low fall-like temperatures. We've been close to average, but that's going to change later this weekend. Right now, though, we are cool. 62 for the current temperature with clear skies and calm winds. Across the state, many of us seeing those numbers in the 50s and 60s with clear skies all across the state. Those clear conditions are going to lead to quickly dropping temperatures. Lows for many of us will fall to the upper 50s. Some areas staying in the low 60s, especially closer to the Bay and in southern Maryland. We'll have mostly clear skies, and then that carries into a nice and mostly sunny day tomorrow. High temperatures reach the low 80s, some spots in the mid 80s, but overall, we are looking at temperatures slightly higher than what we had today. Now, we were in that pleasant range. Tomorrow, dew points remain relatively low, and that makes it feel pretty comfortable. But as we head into next week, our dew points gradually rise, and it starts to feel a little more sticky. Not only will it get more humid, it'll also be hotter. Overnight, we stay quiet and clear, and temperatures will fall to the 50s and 60s. Not a bad start to the morning. If you have to do any yard work, it looks great for that. Then by the afternoon, high temperatures reach the low to mid 80s, and it'll feel pretty nice. Still not too hot for this time of year, but as we head into Sunday, we are looking at a warming trend starting. Low temperatures by the morning will be in the 50s and 60s. Those numbers will be slightly higher than tomorrow morning's numbers. But as we head into the afternoon, we're looking at highs in the upper 80s. So it will be warmer, but we'll have plenty of sunshine, and it looks great for the Ravens home opener. We're keeping watch on Tropical Storm Fiona. Right now, it doesn't pose any threats to the United States, but that's an area we'll keep watching. We're also keeping watch on two areas in the Atlantic. Neither have an impact on the U.S. 62 for the low temperature tonight, then 83 for the high tomorrow. After that, we've got a warm one for the Ravens home opener with highs around 87, 90 on Monday. Then we stay hot as we end summer. For the first full day of fall on Friday, highs will be in the 70s. Back to you.
All right, Jasmine, the Ravens have found a replacement for Poe, the familiar faces you'll see at this weekend's home opener. A private all-girls Catholic school in Baltimore is under fire for comments made by its director of diversity and inclusion. Kalia Selman of Maryvale Preparatory School spoke at the National Association of Independent Schools People of Color Conference, where she discussed the importance of providing students of color spaces away from white gaze. She also said that it is fine to provide students of color with things white students are not because, quote, the white students are fine. Members of a conservative parent organization voiced their concerns.
The negative impacts of any sort of racial division is astounding. It's wrong and it's detrimental to students' well-being to teach that they're either oppressors or oppressed just based on their skin color.
Maryvale President Tracy Ford has reportedly emailed families to say that she is assuming direct oversight of the school's justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts. Listening sessions will also be hosted to receive feedback. With Ronnie Stanley listed as doubtful for Sunday's game against the Finns, the Ravens may look to Patrick McCary to once again step up. Okay, Rocco, we chat with him ahead on Sports Unlimited.
This Fox 45 News segment is sponsored by BCSBN, the Black College Sports Broadcasting Network.
Okay, so taking a live look now at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore ahead of the Ravens home opener this Sunday. We've learned about a replacement for their mascot, Poe, who was injured last month, and they didn't have to look very far.
Do we have a deal? Awesome. That's great. That's great.
Former team mascots Edgar and Allen are stepping up to fill in this season. The original mascots were retired 14 years ago. Poe suffered a knee injury last month. Edgar and Allen will wear their original jerseys of number 101 and number 102. They'll make their comeback on Sunday as the Ravens take on the Miami Dolphins. Well, that is all for us on the late edition. I'm Riel Creighton. Now here's Rocco DeSangro with Sports Unlimited. Rocco.
Yeah, thank you, Riel. 20 games in 20 days. That's what it looked like entering the night for the O's, the final stretch of the regular season. That began with their AL East foe as the postseason push heats up. Game one of a crucial three-game series with Toronto. O's in a hole early on, one on for Adley Rutschman in the fourth, and he takes that ball for a ride. The two-run shot, his 11th of the year, makes it a 2-1 game. Bottom five, 2-1 for George Springer. And that's a no-doubter. Blue Jays take a 4-2 lead. Jordan Lyles went 5 innings, allowing 4 earned on 5 hits. 2 of them were long balls. In the 6th, Joey Crable on the mound. Matt Chapman already with the homer on the night, and he'll take a second helping. O's fall behind 6-2 on the 2-run shot. Last chance for the O's. Gunnar Henderson with a solo blast in the 9th, but too little, too late. O's fall to the Jays, 6-3, the final score. So the good news, the Rays lost to the Rangers, so that helps out the O's a bit. It's currently Toronto, Seattle, and Tampa in those top 3 wildcard spots. The O's currently 4.5 games back of the Rays. They're back in action with the Jays Saturday, 3 p.m. So when Juwan James went down with a torn Achilles in the first half of the Ravens' win over the Jets, Patrick McCary stepped in at left tackle. And with Ronnie Stanley listed as doubtful for Sunday's game against Miami, McCary is ready to step up again.
You know, that's my job. That's why I'm here, to do whatever they need me to do and get to work. I have a lot to work on this week, and I'm looking forward to Sunday.
We're unsure of where Ronnie's at right now. Are you prepared to start again Sunday if they ask you to do so?
Yeah, I'm prepared with whatever they need me to do. Wishing Ronnie all the best. I don't know what his situation is. Obviously, that's with him, but I'm ready with what the team needs me to do.
As far as the Dolphins go, this is a team that really got after you guys a season ago with cover 0. How have you guys prepared for that all week long?
Yeah, I mean, we got to get ready for it. Whatever it is they throw at us, we're practicing a lot of different stuff. We're ready. We feel good where we're at. Like I said, we're really looking forward to Sunday.
Check out some high school football action. Gilman and Boys Latin going head-to-head. Greyhounds trailing by 3. Matt Parker airs it out to DeJuan Lane, and he cruises in for 6. 44 yards on the pass and catch, and just like that, Gilman takes the lead. Parker, again, looking to throw. Hits Clayton badly for the big pickup. And Gilman goes on to get the win, 20-10 the final. Dundalk and Perry Hall squaring off in a battle of undefeateds. Owls trailing 6-0. Ja Bonner drops back and finds a wide open Dale Martin. That ties the game at 6. Later in the game, Bonner looking deep. But Deshaun Conway and Declan Iliania are there to break it up. Really solid coverage on the play. But it's the Owls moving to 3-0 with the 27-6 victory. Wake up to some college football on Saturday. CW Baltimore will be airing HBCU games throughout the season, courtesy of the Black College Sports Broadcasting Network. Tomorrow, Winston-Salem State will be taking on Elizabeth City State at 11 a.m. Stan Luter is calling the game, and he tells you why you should tune in.
It's good football. It's a lot of guys that maybe played at your high school, played down the street, that maybe didn't go to the USCs or the Ohio States, the Maryland, but they're really good, and they're getting a chance to get a great education. They're getting a chance to play some good, solid football. So if check it out, you'll enjoy it. Yes, football's good, bands are great, cheerleaders are awesome, tailgating's good, and it's just a great weekend of college football. So tune in and watch the game.
That's it for this edition of Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.